being reborn.
Right.
And that's where you find the snake, the serpent, the plumed serpent on a lot of their pyramids. So I find this, and I'm going, oh, my God. Well, all of a sudden, Ted Danson comes out with this television series in a movie called, Back to Atlantis. And he actually shows where Hitler ordered Heinrich Himmler to look for the master race. George, they went into Tibet. They went into Central South America, everywhere looking for the master race. And I'm like, oh, my God, what if, let's just take a wild scenario, and I was looking for a plot to add to the Ed story because, you've got, when you're writing a book, you've got to have some wheels that it can roll on. And I looked at Ed's coming from Latvia, and where does he land? He lands at an area of Florida at the edge of the Everglades. They actually say the tip of the Bermuda Triangle actually goes into that area. So I'm going, oh, my God, we got Atlantis, we got the Bermuda Triangle, we got that city out there. Now, 10,000 years ago, George, which a lot of people don't realize, all that water was dry land.
Exactly.
So the city could have sat right there. So as I'm researching this, I find the swastika and I think, oh my God. So I came and I based a lot of this on Casey's writings because he said they misused the crystal powers. They actually had a generating plant, and they had like a laser type war, like a Star Wars type war that destroyed it. So I'm sitting here going, what if? And they're doing a lot of studies now, and we talked about, and you talked about a past life in your newsletter there when you wrote an article on my book in our interview. I loved how you said, hey, what if Ed discovered he did have a past life? And they're doing studies now called genetic memories where our DNA could go back all the way. In other words, there could have been an Adolf Hitler 10,000 years ago in Atlantis, and 10,000 years, later he comes back in our era, the same exact guy, maybe different name, but that same DNA is in the blood. So my plot in the book, George, is to go back in Atlantis and see what happened there. And let's just say if those pyramids are that old and the swastikas are there, what if there was a form of Nazis? And what I was trying to show, George, was let's look out, because evil that's in the past always comes back, and it kind of repeats itself like a circulating pattern. So in the book, the reason I put the picture of the Mayan swastika was to show that this culture could have existed 10,000 years ago in this city, okay? Could have been someone like Adolf Hitler. And what I was trying to do was warn the world, look out, these things can happen again. And actually in page 254 of the hardback book, I mentioned Ed was not a Nazi. He did not like these things. He was keeping up with it. And you got to remember, George, and this time period that Ed was there was one of the greatest times, and Hitler was a big part of that in the evil that he committed. So I was trying to show in the book, and I actually said, we have to watch out for these cultures. But what happened was when I mailed the book to Coral Castle for them to approve it, the owners were down there for a visit, and the book was on the counter. Well, when you look in the hardback book, on third page, you see the Mayan swastika. Well, the owner picked up the book, was perusing it, saw the Mayan swastika, and went, boom, threw my book in the trash and said,
he went bananas.
He's a communist, and we'll never carry this book in our place.
Okay, without even looking at what it was.
Without reading the book, nothing. And actually, the strange thing is my friend who actually did the first newspaper review was a Jewish friend of mine, and I ran the store by her, and I said, now, you sure you understand what I'm trying to say? And she said, it's clear as a bell. You have no problem. And I've actually had Jewish friends of mine who wrote me and said, hey, I understand what you were doing, but this is a case, George, I'm not beating anybody up. It's a shame that I've done all this work, and the book is not offered there, and I would do anything to sit down with these people and explain to them what I was trying to say, but they will not talk to me, so it's just a lost cause.
All right, so you may not be the one to track them down, but somebody at Coral Castle, is Coral Castle, I've not been there.
It's privately owned.
It's privately owned, but yes. You can go see it. You can tour it?
It's a tourist. Yes.
How much you pay to go see it now?
Now, it's gone up. It used to be $6. It's about $10 now.
So for $10, you go there, and I guess there's staff there.
There's guides. Around? Yeah, there's guides, and they give you about an hour's tour there.
So somebody somewhere is the manager of Coral Castle. If you call down there, right?
Correct. Sylvia is the manager.
All right. If you call Sylvia and say, Sylvia, who owns Coral Castle? What's she going to say?
You will get probably. I'm not allowed to give out that information.
All right, but she does know who it is.
Of course.
So how much money do you think they're making down there now?
honestly, George, there's
I mean, it's not like a lot of people go there all the time.
No,
It's not like Disneyland.
No, no. In fact, one of the things that's hurt Coral Castle and all those places is Disneyland. You know, everybody wants to run down and see all the whiz and the bang, which is great. And Coral Castle is more of a historical, scientific thing in a way, but it's a lot of fun. You can put your kids in there, and Ed was saying, I don't need hurricane insurance because Hurricane Andrew blew through there and it was still fine. I don't need fire insurance because nothing I have will burn. So kids can come through there, play up. They can't hurt anything. It's an outdoor museum, but only about, I'd say, 10 years ago there were 75,000 visitors. There's probably a lot more. When we did the Coast Show, they packed that place, and they're still going from that show. But I would say...
So give me an estimate. How many people do you think go through there?
I'd say 90,000.
90,000 people a year at $6. So it's generating over $500,000 in gross sales.
Right.
And I don't know what their expenses are, but
it's probably
staff. It's probably paying its mortgage.
Oh,
right?
For sure.
At least.
For sure. Yeah. And one sad thing that I want to say is I want to run down there with a can of WD-40 and spray all of Ed's iron tools because they're not. I mean, I hate to say this. They're just not putting the money in keeping up his tools.
They're not taking care of it, are they?
No.
Maybe I'll get everybody from coast to coast to pitch in. And
I wish you would come down on June 21st, the summer solstice, and let's have an Ed's Day. I'm working on, we have a new governor here. I didn't have any luck with I was telling people, George, no Florida governor, no senator, no mayor, nobody will step into Coral Castle and say it exists.
Gosh, I saw a picture of the magnetic machine, but you are right. It looks like its parts have been taken out of it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you got the latest email I sent you. A wonderful photographer named Robert Wyman took a picture of the actual stone. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure did.
The gray matter there, the stone that sits under the 9-ton gate. I couldn't take that good a picture.
Right.
But yeah, George, there's so much that could be done there, and the knowledge that could be gained from this place, it's just being wasted.
Well, we're going to continue talking about some of the magnificent things that Ed had at Coral Castle, but also what I'd like, Joe, next hour when we open up the phone lines, maybe somebody has some inside information on the Coral Castle, like the woman who called you after listening to your appearance on Coast to Coast in 2004. Maybe someone out there has had relatives who know about Coral Castle. Maybe someone out there was told the secret by Ed Leedskalnin. We'll be back.
Let's hope so.
And our special guest, of course, Joe Bullard. And we'll be back with Joe in just a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Joe, our researchers, our listeners, sent me some information on Coral Castle, the taxes. First of all, the taxes in 2006, $27,578. And the owner's name is just listed as Coral Castle, Inc. So that is that. Now what somebody would have to do is send a letter to the Secretary of State in Florida to get the information on the corporation, or at least find the attorney who's responsible for it, and then you track down the owners. But, if you're paying property taxes of $27,000, that place is worth, $2.5 to $4 million.
Oh, yeah, at least.
So that's a pretty good chunk of property. And what is it on? How many acres?
I think the site now has only got like 2 acres. I think it's on 2 acres.
Okay, and I don't think the taxes have been paid yet. For 2006.
Okay.
And they have to pay them by May 31st, or then they start paying those penalties and things like that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's, like I said, when I got in trouble, I kind of just laid low, and I really haven't talked about it. This is really done the first time because, George, I wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings in this world. And I understand they lost some family members during the Holocaust. And, George, if there was one person out there who thought I was a Nazi, I would destroy my book. I would quit all my research. I wouldn't do anything that was remotely connected to that. And I'm so sad that that's the thought there. But I thank you for letting me clear the air here with the listeners and anyone who bought that original book. You know, I've never had any other complaints.